We're coming to you from the Dubai Cloud and Data Center Convention, and joining me now is Ronal Powell, Director of Cloud Offerings at Core 42, which is part of the G42 group. There's been a lot of news about Core 42 and G42 over the last 1 year. There have been MOUs being signed, there's a lot of expansion going on. Could you take us through your journey over the last 1 year, and where do you see Core 42 moving next?
Well, yeah, I mean, Core 42, this was a wake of two, I would say, powerhouse sister companies, G42 Cloud and Injazat merging on the wake of GITEX last year.
Yeah.
And then on the emphasis of our chairman or group CEO, Mr. Ping, really partnering very closely with the leaders of the country. And as you saw, partnering with the UAE Cybersecurity Council and as well Microsoft, which is the big powerhouse hyperscaler, to really help accelerate the government entities to adopt and consume the public cloud services on the wake of the buzz of AI, right? Because there's no company out there that really can cope with the speed on how AI is really moving forward. The hyperscalers are pretty much the folks out there that are really got the investment, the scalability and the flexibility to bring AI in the quickest way possible. But the problem here is you're starting to see that in order for those regulated customers here in the UAE specifically, it's a challenge, right? Because you've got data privacy issues and all of these things. So we had to step up, and we had to come with a solution and work alongside Microsoft to bring the sovereign public cloud services with Azure and pave the path for our regulated customers to get access to the great technology of AI. We worked with OpenAI, we brought them to the country. We've also worked with Microsoft to bring Azure Confidential Compute, which is going to help drive the implementation of the technical controls that translates the UAE cybersecurity 45 policies that has been created around that. Even though it is not mandatory yet, we do foresee that it's going to happen, but we need to help and prepare the pathway for our regulated customers so that they know when they do consume and adopt the public cloud, that they are consuming it in the most safest way.
The government here has been quite proactive when it comes to creating the right regulatory environment. What kind of regulations surrounding data sovereignty would you like to see? What is an ideal environment, especially in wake of the AI boom here in the Middle East?
Yeah, so I mean, everything today, if you look at it, is around data privacy, right? Yeah. What is the biggest data privacy law out there is the GDPR.
Yeah.
So everyone is inheriting the GDPR. How do you incorporate the GDPR in the country? So it's taking bits and pieces of that GDPR, customizing it, or say retrofitting it for the country. And what is it that the UAE cybersecurity feels that is appropriate and good enough that safeguards the government entities to host certain data in these hyperscalers, like Microsoft. And you see now AWS coming and partnering with and you're going to probably see that coming very soon. But yes, Core 42 has been the leader in that sovereign play with Microsoft. So we do have a head start. We started about 2 years ago. And I do see a competition coming from there. Where AWS definitely will come with and probably at some point, but there's going to be a big focus around sovereignty. You see this trend all over the world. You see this happening in Europe, you see this happening in Asia. It's becoming a major trend, but it's also at the same time a global problem, because all these countries have their own sovereign jurisdiction laws.
Yes.
And yes, they are mix and matching bits and pieces of NIST, the US Cloud Act, GDPR, ISO 27000, and all of these type of things that they need to incorporate to ensure that they are safeguarding their country. But it is also creating complexity, right? Because AI is not going to be everywhere. right? There are going to be certain hubs of AI because it's expensive to build these AI infrastructure. Yes, Core 42 or G42 have stepped up and said, you know, we have a vision to build and help drive the AI infrastructure of the world, but that's going to take time. But how do you get people access quickly before those data centers are up and running? You know, we see the investment Microsoft have put in with G42 in Kenya, for instance, where we're going to build an AI data center with Microsoft in Kenya, but that's 4 to 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? What do the regulated customers can you do until then? So we've got to find that alternative solution to help them with their digital sovereignty challenge cross-border, taking in consideration what the Kenyan government feels fit, or what they need to have in their grasp to ensure that their data is secure, and maybe accessing the data center here in the UAE, but also incorporating, because why, the data is within the sovereign jurisdiction of the UAE, so it'll inherit the UAE laws.
True.
So now you've got this complexity of how do you join these two countries together to ensure that one is not contradicting each other.
It has to be interwoven, right?
Absolutely, and because we are also, you know, incorporating GPUs like NVIDIA, we also inheriting the US Cloud Act and also the Californian data privacy and all of these things that the US Embassy is imposing on the UAE.
So how do we make sure this doesn't become a beautiful mess?
I think it requires a lot of planning, a lot of real understanding and researching of how to navigate through all of this complexity. It is not easy. I think a lot of negotiations need to happen. I think negotiations is one aspect from a political perspective, but technically when the tire hits the ground, I think this is where the challenge still lies, right? How do we carve out that complexity to make it easier for customers that are not just in the UAE but outside of the UAE to access the infrastructure here in the UAE.
So partnerships and collaborations will play a huge role.
100%. So there's going to have to be government to government collaboration. There has to be that dialogue that needs to happen.
So in a world where we are already playing a catch-up game, and that is getting exacerbated by AI, where do you see hyperscalers in the Middle East? How do you see them growing?
Yeah, I mean, you see now massive amounts of money being pumped into the UAE, specifically on Microsoft. Microsoft investing huge amounts of money into expanding the current data centers to become AI ready. They're going live now at the end of the month with their GPU as a service on Microsoft Azure. So they are foreseeing great adoption, and they are anticipating a lot of consumption in the near future. But the challenge is still going to be, how do I get the customer to that infrastructure, right? Coming back to what we spoke about early on. So there's multi-dimensional views that we need to look at. Yes, we need to get the infrastructure ready, there needs to be investment and all these great things, but there's still unsolved issues that need to be addressed.
I'm glad you brought that up, you know, because there are multiple challenges to adoption and consumption of AI, not the least of which is skills development. There is a huge skills gap. How do we deal with that?
Well, I think the UAE leadership is doing a fantastic job in the space where they're popping up these innovation hubs. You know, now as you saw in the social media, Abu Dhabi and Microsoft are going to be launching the AI Innovation Hub in Abu Dhabi. And I think they want to attract global talent. They want to build this AI talent pool in here, but that'll require significant amount of knowledge transfer, training, development, getting people to come here. And I think they were also very smart, because if you think about what they've started doing with the visas, they started really creating a bit of more flexibility around the golden visas and around entrepreneurs and about working remotely but still having a residency visa here. So they are creating this environment to make it a lot more easier to attract these young entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
young startup companies, like you saw in Silicon Valley, right?
Yes.
They want to be the next Silicon Valley. But how do you do that? It's not that easy. When you've got a history in San Francisco that's been for 150 years or 200 years, you know, in that culture, here's a very new culture. It's a young-blooded country of 40 odd years, but how do you create that, you know, that demand? How do you create that hype? I think in all intentions, the marketing has been really great. I think by the government putting their best foot forward, working with G42, creating that hype, creating that interest and that demand. And I think you're starting to see everybody now wanting to be part of the bandwagon. So, and I think everyone wants to be close to the action. And this is a small market, but it's a very active, and it's always been, I would say, a very innovative country.
But AI also brings with it sustainability challenges, because there is a huge requirement for power anyway with AI workloads that increases exponentially. Then there is this emphasis for switching to cleaner energy sources, renewable energy sources, and we've seen that initiative in the Middle East. It's been taking shape ever since COP28. So could you take us through the sustainability challenges and how we can perhaps overcome them here in the Middle East?
I think that is also one of the big reasons why G42 partnered with Microsoft, because they're the biggest advocates of sustainability globally. Around their data centers, they've invested and researched in a lot of time and effort to become greener. And we have now just kick-started our sustainability initiative in G42. So what does that mean? That means everybody in the company needs to be trained up and understands what sustainability means to the company.
And it is wider than just power consumption and all, right? What is
it's for you as an individual,
Yeah.
right? Because you need to be a contributor as an individual, not just the company, right? So what are you as an individual playing a part into that, and being part of the bigger ecosystem of sustainability, and also how the government are portraying or leading that initiative. And you're going to start to see some regulations coming in, right, where the government is going to probably release sustainability policies. And it's probably going to push companies to be more sustainability aware, right? And probably, like you saw in a lot of other countries, where if you are more sustainable, you'll see in DIWA, in your bill now, you now start to get a report about how sustainable you are in your DIWA consumption.
True.
Taking your vehicle for renewals every year. I just did my renewal of my vehicle. It gives me a sustainability report on my vehicle. How green is my vehicle? And you're now starting to see that slowly slip into everything that is happening in the UAE, and it's going to be like that in businesses.
It's percolating into the DNA.
Absolutely,
the
and I
culture.
think every company now is probably going to have to provide a sustainability report.
But I'm also curious, how is AI impacting the go-to-market strategy for companies here in the UAE?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So, I'm doing a doctoral research now through the Golden Gate University of San Francisco, where my topic proposal is the impact of innovation on the development of go-to-market strategies for the UAE technology services companies here in the UAE. And AI plays a significant piece in this, right? You've got cloud in there, you've got AI, machine learning, blockchain, and all these emerging technologies that are going to play a significant role. But technology is only one portion when it comes to that, right? You've got a lot of other things where you've got government innovation. Government plays a significant role in that space, because the way they draft their policies and the way they create regulations also create a culture around that. And if the government is not helping to craft and mold the way they want to give flexibility for businesses to expand and be flexible, to grow the AI hype, it will slow it down. So they know that.
But I've noticed that almost all the governments of all the major countries, at least in the GCC, have very clear vision documents about data centers, about AI, about technology. So things have been put in place. Now implementation is what...
that is the... Because no one knows what they don't know yet, right? This is new technology. You know, when OpenAI came out and also Google came out with Llama and all of these type of things, we don't know yet, and I don't believe we know yet, the true capabilities of AI. So there's a lot of fear around AI. We're all running towards creating this beast, but we don't know how this beast is going to be controlled or managed or governed.
You have been coming to W.Media conferences for a while. This is the second time I've interviewed you. And I was wondering, what has your experience been like today? You were a panelist as well. So what has been your experience at W.Media been like?
I think it's been amazing, and I think through all the panelists, I think you start to see the same trend, the same questions that were popping up around sovereignty. Data sovereignty seems to be like the number one key factor. And number two is, again, the adoption and the consumption of AI. Is this truly real, or is it a false hype?
Right.
Are we really going to make money out of it, or are we not? So I think
these discussions were relevant.
Absolutely, and I think they're all relevant and realistic questions and challenges everyone's facing, you know. But like the nature of Dubai, we want to do it first and we want to do it fast.
First and fast. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you for this interview. Thank you so much.